Listen to me. Fear is a lie. Fear is the voice in your head telling you that you can't when deep down you know you can. Fear is the thing standing between you and the life you're meant to live. But here's the truth. Fear is only as strong as you let it be. Some of you have dreams, but you're afraid to chase them because you think you'll fail. You're afraid of what people will say. You're afraid of the unknown. But let me tell you something. You can't win if you don't even step in the ring. Fear only has power when you stand still. But the moment you move, the moment you decide, I'm going after this no matter what, fear gets smaller. See, most people don't fail because they're not talented. They don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they let fear paralyze them. They let fear keep them in the same job they hate. They let fear keep them from starting that business, taking that class, making that phone call. Fear is the dream killer, the silent thief that steals your destiny. But not you, not today. Today, you make a decision to fight your fear. How? By acting in spite of it, by stepping forward when your legs are shaking, by speaking up when your voice is trembling, by doing what scares you until it doesn't scare you anymore. Look, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling fear and doing it anyway. You think the greatest athletes, the greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest leaders never felt fear? They did, but they pushed through. They fought through. They acted in spite of it. And that's why they're great. So today I challenge you, face your fear, run toward it, own it. Because the moment you stop running from it and start fighting it, you become unstoppable. Fear is one of the most deceptive forces in life. It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as a voice of reason, but in reality, it is a lie. It tells you that you are not good enough, that you are not ready, that you do not have what it takes. It whispers doubts into your mind, planting seeds of hesitation that grow into inaction. The truth is, fear has no real power on its own. It thrives on the energy you give it. The more you listen, the more you hesitate, the stronger it becomes. But fear is not reality. It is an illusion that only exists as long as you allow it to. Think about the moments when fear has held you back, the times when you wanted to speak up, but you didn't, the moments when you had a great idea, but convinced yourself it wasn't good enough, the opportunities you let slip away because fear told you, what if you fail? Fear wants to keep you in the same place, locked in a cycle of doubt, never moving forward. But if you take a step back and really analyze it, you will see that fear is based on assumptions, not facts. You assume you will fail. You assume people will judge you. You assume you are not prepared enough. But none of those things are real until you prove them to be. Fear tricks you into believing it is protecting you. It makes you feel like staying in your comfort zone is the safest option. But in reality, staying in the same place is the most dangerous decision you can make. Growth does not happen where you are comfortable. Progress does not come from playing it safe. Everything you have ever wanted is on the other side of fear. But fear will do everything in its power to keep you from reaching it. It will create excuses, distractions, and reasons why you should wait. But the more you wait, the more you strengthen the lie. Have you ever noticed how fear fades when you take action? The moment you finally step into the thing you were afraid of, the fear loses its grip. The first time you get on stage, the first time you make the phone call, the first time you step into the unknown, it is terrifying. But as soon as you do it, you realize it wasn't as bad as your mind made it seem. Fear builds walls that are only real until you walk through them. The moment you face it, the illusion shatters. But most people never get to that point because they let the lie convince them to stop before they even start. Fear does not just live in big moments. It exists in the smallest decisions. It shows up when you hesitate to introduce yourself to someone new. It appears when you delay working on your goals. It sneaks in when you think about changing your life, but tell yourself, now's not the right time. Fear will always find a reason to make you wait, to make you second guess yourself, to make you feel like you need more time. But waiting does not make fear disappear. It only gives it more control. Some of the most successful people in the world did not succeed because they were fearless. They succeeded because they saw fear for what it was, a lie, and moved forward anyway. They understood that fear will always be there, but they refused to let it dictate their actions. They felt the fear and stepped into it. They understood that fear is not a stop sign. It is a test. It asks you, how bad do you really want this? And your response determines everything. Fear operates through repetition. The more you listen to it, the more power it gains. But the same rule applies to courage. The more you act despite fear, the more power you gain. Every time you do something that fear told you not to, you weaken its hold. Every time you take action, even with doubt in your mind, you prove to yourself that fear has no real control. This is why successful people seem fearless. It is not because they never feel fear. It is because they have conditioned themselves to act in spite of it. Fear is not something you conquer once and never deal with again. It shows up at every new level of life. Every new challenge brings a new set of fears. But once you understand that fear is an illusion, you stop letting it hold you back. You stop waiting for fear to disappear before you take action. You stop believing the lie that you are not ready. You stop looking for permission to go after what is already yours. The biggest difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck is how they respond to fear. One person feels fear and lets it stop them. Another person feels fear and takes action anyway. That single decision creates two completely different lives. The person who lets fear stop them spends their life wondering what could have been, regretting the chances they never took. The person who fights fear lives a life of purpose, knowing they gave everything they had. When you truly understand that fear is a lie, you stop negotiating with it. You stop allowing it to control your future. You stop letting it make decisions for you. Instead, you take control. You step into fear and watch it crumble. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than the illusion, because that's all fear really is, an illusion. And once you see it for what it is, it loses all of its power. People do not fail because they lack talent. They do not fail because they are not smart enough, not strong enough, or not capable enough. The real reason people fail is because they allow fear to paralyze them. They stop before they even start. They hesitate when they should act. They let the thought of failure become stronger than the possibility of success. It is not their skills, not their intelligence, not their ability that holds them back. It is the belief that failure is something they cannot recover from. Fear of failure keeps people in the same place for years, sometimes even for a lifetime. It convinces them that trying and failing is worse than never trying at all. But that is the biggest trap of all. When you let fear control you, you rob yourself of every opportunity, every lesson, every moment of growth that comes from stepping into the unknown. You rob yourself of discovering what you are truly capable of. Failure is not the real enemy. Inaction is. When you do nothing, when you stay in the same place, when you refuse to take the first step because you are afraid of falling, that is when you truly lose. People believe that failure is something permanent. They think one wrong move, one bad decision, one mistake will define them forever. But that is not how success works. The most successful people in the world are the ones who have failed the most. They are the ones who have taken the biggest risks, made the biggest mistakes, fallen the hardest, but they kept going. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is the ability to get up after falling, to keep moving after stumbling, to push forward when everything inside them is telling them to quit. Fear makes you believe that failure is the worst possible outcome. But the truth is, the worst possible outcome is regret. The worst possible outcome is looking back and realizing you never even tried. The worst possible outcome is knowing you had the potential to do something great, but allowed fear to convince you otherwise. Failure is not the end. It is a lesson. Every time you fail, you learn. Every mistake teaches you something. Every setback builds resilience. Every time you fall and get back up, you become stronger. But when you let fear stop you before you even begin, you never get the chance to grow. Most people think they need to feel ready before they start. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect plan. But perfection is another lie fear uses to keep you from moving forward. There is no perfect moment. There is no perfect plan. The only way to learn is by doing. The only way to improve is by starting, by making mistakes, by adjusting and trying again. If you wait until you feel ready, you will wait forever. Readiness comes from action, not from waiting. The more you do, the more prepared you become. The more you move, the more you learn. The more you take risks, the more you grow. People often look at successful individuals and think they must have had some special advantage. They assume they had more resources, better opportunities, more support. But in reality, the biggest advantage they had was their willingness to fail. They were willing to take chances, to step into uncertainty, to face rejection, to hear no and keep going. They did not let fear stop them from trying. They did not let failure define them. They understood that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the journey. Fear of failure is a mental prison. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, overthinking, and hesitation. It makes you believe that staying in the same place is safer than taking a risk. But there is nothing safe about wasting your potential. There is nothing safe about settling for less than you are capable of. There is nothing safe about living a life filled with what ifs and missed opportunities. The only way to break free is to act in spite of fear, to move forward even when you are uncertain, to take the leap even when you do not know where you will land. The people who achieve great things are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear control them. They are the ones who feel the doubt, hear the negative thoughts, acknowledge the fear, but move anyway. They understand that action is the cure for fear. The more you act, the less power fear has. The more you try, the more confidence you gain. The more you step into the unknown, the more comfortable you become with uncertainty. Fear cannot survive in the presence of action. It only exists when you hesitate, when you hold back, when you let it dictate your choices. Fear makes failure seem like the end of the world. But failure is nothing more than feedback. It is information. It shows you what works and what does not. It teaches you where you need to improve. It pushes you to adjust, to innovate, to try again with more knowledge and experience. Every failure brings you closer to success as long as you keep going. The only true failure is giving up. The only real loss is never trying. When you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. When you stop seeing mistakes as something to avoid and start seeing them as steps on the path to success, you unlock your true potential. You stop holding yourself back. You stop overthinking. You stop waiting for permission. You stop allowing fear to dictate your future. You take control. You take action. You step into your power. Because in the end, failure does not stop you. Fear does. And when you refuse to let fear win, nothing can hold you back. Fear has a way of making itself seem larger than life. It builds itself up in your mind, creating scenarios, predicting outcomes, convincing you that the worst will happen. But the moment you take action, fear begins to shrink. The moment you move forward, fear loses its grip. The mistake most people make is waiting for fear to disappear before they act. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll go after my dreams when I'm more confident. I'll take the risk when the fear is gone. But fear does not leave on its own. It does not fade away because you want it to. Fear only weakens when you take action in spite of it. People often think that the most successful individuals never feel fear, that they have some special ability to operate without doubt, without hesitation, without second-guessing themselves. But that is not true. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward anyway. Fear does not hold them back because they do not give it permission to. They feel it, they acknowledge it, and then they act anyway. They understand that action is the only thing that weakens fear. Think about the things you were once afraid of that no longer scare you. Maybe it was speaking in front of a group of people. Maybe it was driving a car for the first time. Maybe it was starting a new job, meeting new people, trying something unfamiliar. The first time you did it, fear was loud. Your heart raced, your mind filled with doubt, your hands shook. But the moment you took action, fear lost its power. And the more you did it, the smaller the fear became. That is how fear works. It only has control when you stand still. It only grows when you avoid it. But the second you take a step toward it, fear starts to fade. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that confidence comes before action. They believe they need to feel ready before they can move forward. But confidence does not come from waiting. It comes from doing. It comes from stepping into fear, from proving to yourself that you are capable, from taking risk and realizing that failure is not the end. Every time you take action, you build confidence. Every time you push past fear, you strengthen yourself. The more you do, the more you believe in your own ability. But if you wait for confidence before you take action, you will never start. Fear will always try to convince you that you are not ready. It will tell you that you need more time, more preparation, more certainty. But preparation does not eliminate fear. The only way to truly overcome fear is to act in the presence of it. If you wait until you feel fearless, you will wait forever. The truth is, you become fearless through action. Every step you take weakens fear's hold on you. Every risk you take makes the next one easier. Every challenge you face makes you stronger. Most people let fear control their lives without even realizing it. They make decisions based on what they are afraid of rather than what they truly want. They stay in jobs they hate because they fear change. They settle in relationships that do not fulfill them because they fear being alone. They hold back their dreams because they fear failure. They avoid speaking up because they fear rejection. They think they are making smart choices, but in reality, they are just avoiding fear. They are choosing comfort over growth. But comfort does not lead to success. Comfort does not build confidence. Comfort does not create change. Fear thrives on hesitation. The longer you wait, the stronger it becomes. The more you overthink, the more fear takes over. The key to overcoming fear is to act before it has time to grow. The moment you feel fear creeping in, move, make the call, take the step, speak up, push forward. Do not give fear time to convince you to stop. Do not let it settle in and take control. The faster you act, the weaker fear becomes. Fear makes failure seem worse than it actually is. It convinces you that making a mistake is the end of the world. But failure is not final. It is feedback. Every failure teaches you something. Every mistake gives you insight. Every setback is an opportunity to adjust, improve, and grow. When you start to see failure as a lesson rather than a disaster, fear loses its power. You stop hesitating. You stop holding yourself back. You stop letting fear dictate your choices. You understand that action is always better than inaction, that trying and failing is better than never trying at all. Fear will always be present when you are doing something new, something challenging, something that matters. But that is not a reason to stop. It is a sign that you are growing. If you are never afraid, it means you are not pushing yourself. If you are never uncomfortable, it means you are not stepping outside your limits. Growth and fear go hand in hand. The only way to reach your full potential is to move through the fear, to push past the doubt, to take action even when everything inside you is telling you to hold back. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when fear completely disappears. There will never be a point where you feel 100% ready. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear stop them. They understand that action is the only thing that makes fear weaker. They know that confidence is built through movement, that growth happens outside of comfort, that success comes from stepping into the unknown. The only way to take back control from fear is to act. The only way to build confidence is to do the thing you are afraid of. The only way to grow is to move forward even when fear is trying to hold you back. Every time you take action in the presence of fear, you take away its power. Every time you push through, you become stronger. Fear only wins if you stand still. The moment you move, fear starts to lose. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is not a feeling that comes when all doubt has disappeared, when all uncertainty is gone, when everything feels safe. Courage is not something that magically appears when conditions are perfect. It is the decision to move forward even when fear is screaming in your ear. It is the willingness to take action despite the trembling hands, the racing heart, the voice in your head telling you to stop. Courage is not about waiting until you no longer feel afraid. It is about doing it scared. People believe that the fearless are the ones who succeed. They think that those who accomplish great things must be born with some special ability to silence fear, to operate without doubt, to move without hesitation. But that is not true. The most successful people in the world feel fear just like everyone else. The difference is they refuse to let fear stop them. They act in the presence of it. They take risks knowing there is a possibility of failure. They step into the unknown knowing they might fall, but they do it anyway. That is courage. Most people think fear is a stop sign. They believe that if they feel fear, it must mean they are not ready. They assume that if something scares them, it must be a sign to wait. But fear is not a signal to stop. It is proof that you are on the edge of growth. It is a sign that you are stepping into something new, something bigger, something greater than what you have done before. The presence of fear does not mean you should turn back. It means you are exactly where you need to be. The only way to grow is to push through it. Fear creates illusions. It convinces you that the worst will happen. It makes you believe that failure will ruin you, that rejection will break you, that stepping outside your comfort zone will lead to disaster. But the reality is, fear exaggerates. It magnifies problems that do not exist. It creates scenarios that will never happen. And the only way to expose fear for what it is, a liar, is to take action. The moment you do the thing you were afraid of, you realize it was never as bad as you imagined. You realize that fear was just a shadow, a trick of the mind, a false limitation you placed on yourself. Courage is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every time you take action despite fear, you build mental toughness. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you increase your capacity to handle discomfort. The first time you do something scary, it feels overwhelming, but the second time it feels a little easier. The third time, even easier, and before you know it, the thing that once terrified you becomes second nature. That is how courage works. It is not something you are born with. It is something you develop through repetition. The mistake most people make is waiting for courage to come before they act. They think they need to feel brave before they can step forward. But courage does not come first. Action does. You do not wait to feel courageous and then take action. You take action, and that is what creates courage. You make the decision to move despite the fear, and in doing so, you build confidence, resilience, and strength. The only way to become courageous is to do the thing you are afraid of. People look at successful individuals and assume they must have been fearless from the start. But what they do not see is the years of struggle, the moments of doubt, the times when they wanted to quit but kept going anyway. They do not see the times when fear was loud but courage was louder. They do not see the internal battles that were fought and won. Every person who has achieved something great has done so by choosing courage over fear, by stepping forward when everything inside them was telling them to stop, by doing it scared. Fear makes you believe that you need permission to go after what you want. It tells you that you need to wait for approval, that you need someone to tell you it is okay to take the leap, but you do not need permission to chase your dreams. You do not need someone to validate your decisions. You do not need the world to tell you that you are ready. The only approval you need is your own. The only permission you need is the decision to act. The moment you realize that you are the one in control, fear begins to lose its power. Most people live their entire lives avoiding fear. They stay in the same job because they are afraid to start over. They settle in relationships that do not fulfill them because they are afraid of being alone. They hold back their ideas because they are afraid of what people will think. They let fear dictate their choices, and in doing so, they rob themselves of the life they were meant to live. But the people who truly live, the people who create, who innovate, who break barriers, who leave a legacy, they are the ones who embrace fear and move through it. Fear will never fully disappear. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how much experience you gain, no matter how many times you step outside your comfort zone, fear will always be there when you are doing something new. But the difference is the more you face it, the less control it has over you. You stop seeing fear as a barrier and start seeing it as a challenge. You start letting it make decisions for you and start making decisions based on what you truly want. You stop running from it and start using it as fuel to push you forward. The truth is, courage is not about eliminating fear. It is about refusing to let it stop you. It is about acknowledging the fear and moving anyway. It is about taking risks, knowing there are no guarantees, but doing it regardless. It is about stepping into discomfort because you know that is where growth happens. The greatest moments in life, the biggest achievements, the most life-changing experiences all exist on the other side of fear. And the only way to reach them is to do it scared. Fear is a liar. It whispers in your ear, telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not ready, that you're not strong enough to handle what's coming. It makes you believe that stepping forward is dangerous, that trying something new will only end in failure, that if you take the risk, you will fall flat on your face. Fear is a master manipulator, and if you listen to it, if you let it guide your decisions, it will keep you stuck in the same place for years. It will convince you to settle for less than you are capable of. It will rob you of opportunities before you even take the first step. It will make you live a small life when you were meant for more. The most dangerous thing about fear is not the feeling itself, but what it makes you do, or rather, what it stops you from doing. It convinces you to stay silent when you should speak up. It makes you hesitate when you should move. It keeps you in the same routine, in the same environment, surrounded by the same people, doing the same things, because it makes you believe that anything outside of your comfort zone is a threat. Fear makes you play it safe. But playing it safe is the biggest risk of all. Playing it safe means never testing your limits, never discovering your true potential, never pushing yourself beyond what you already know. Fear tells you that if you fail, people will judge you. It makes you afraid of what others will think, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of being embarrassed. But the truth is, people are too busy worrying about their own lives to focus on your failures. The ones who judge you for trying are the ones who are too scared to try themselves. The ones who criticize from the sidelines are the ones who never stepped into the game. And even if you do fail, so what? You learn, you grow, you adapt, you get back up and try again. Failure is temporary, but regret lasts forever. Fear feeds on uncertainty. It makes you believe that because you do not know exactly what will happen, you should not take the risks. But there will never be absolute certainty. There will never be a moment where you know exactly how things will unfold. The only way to find out is to take the leap. The only way to gain experience is by stepping into the unknown. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to see the entire path. You just need to take the first step. Clarity comes through action. Confidence comes through experience. Growth comes through doing the thing you are afraid of. Most people let fear dictate their entire lives without even realizing it. They make choices based on fear rather than based on what they actually want. They stay in relationships that no longer serve them because they are afraid of being alone. They stay in jobs that drain them because they are afraid of stepping into something new. They avoid taking risks because they are afraid of failing. afraid of rejection, afraid of the unknown. But if you live your life making decisions based on fear, you will never be truly free. You will always be a prisoner to the what ifs. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't succeed? But what if you do? What if you are capable? What if success is waiting on the other side of that fear? Fear makes you believe that comfort equals safety. It tells you that staying in the same place, doing the same things, following the same routine will protect you from pain, from failure, from disappointment. But comfort is a trap. It lulls you into a false sense of security while robbing you of growth. Nothing great happens inside your comfort zone. Nothing life-changing comes from staying where it's safe. If you want more for yourself, you have to be willing to step into discomfort. You have to be willing to be bad at something before you get good at it. You have to be willing to fall before you fly. Growth only happens in the presence of discomfort. Fear will try to convince you that the timing isn't right, that you need to wait until you feel ready. But readiness is a myth. No one ever feels 100% ready before they take a big step. No one ever has all the answers before they start. You build readiness by moving forward. You gain confidence by taking action. You become stronger by facing the challenge head on. If you wait for the perfect moment, you will wait forever. The perfect moment is the moment you decide to go all in. The most powerful way to silence fear is through action. The more you act, the less fear has a hold on you. The more you step forward, the smaller fear becomes. The only time fear wins is when you hesitate, when you hold back, when you let it convince you to stay put. But the second you take action, no matter how small, fear begins to lose its power. The more you move, the less fear can control you. The more you try, the more confidence you gain. Action is the antidote to fear. Fear will always be present when you are stepping into something new, something bigger, something greater than what you have done before. But that is not a reason to stop. It is a sign that you are growing. If you are never afraid, it means you are not pushing yourself. If you are never uncomfortable, it means you are not stepping outside your limits. Growth and fear go hand in hand. The only way to reach your full potential is to move through the fear, to push past the doubt, to take action, even when everything inside you is telling you to hold back. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when fear completely disappears. There will never be a point where you feel 100% ready. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear stop them. They understand that action is the only thing that makes fear weaker. They know that confidence is built through movement, that growth happens outside of comfort, that success comes from stepping into the unknown. The only way to take back control from fear is to act. The only way to build confidence is to do the thing you are afraid of. The only way to grow is to move forward, even when fear is trying to hold you back. Every time you take action in the presence of fear, you take away its power. Every time you push through, you become stronger. Fear only wins if you stand still. The moment you move, fear starts to lose. Fear is not real. It exists only in your mind. It is a creation of your thoughts, a projection of worst-case scenarios that have not even happened. Fear is your mind playing tricks on you, making you believe that danger is around every corner, that failure is inevitable, that you are not capable, not strong enough, not worthy of success. But fear is not reality. It is an illusion designed to keep you small, to keep you comfortable, to keep you from stepping into your greatness. The sooner you understand this, the sooner you can break free from its grip. The mind is powerful, and whatever you focus on, you feed. If you feed fear, it will grow. If you allow your mind to dwell on everything that could go wrong, fear will take over. But if you shift your focus, if you train your mind to see possibilities instead of problems, if you choose to believe in yourself rather than listen to doubt, fear will begin to lose its power. You have control over your mind. You have the ability to rewire your thoughts, to break the cycle of fear, to replace hesitation with action, to turn anxiety into excitement, to transform doubt into belief. Fear thrives in the unknown. It makes you believe that because you cannot see what's ahead, you should not take the step. It convinces you that uncertainty is a reason to stay where you are. But uncertainty is not the enemy. Fear is. Life is unpredictable. There will always be unknowns, but that is not a reason to hesitate. That is a reason to move forward. The greatest opportunities exist in the unknown. The biggest breakthroughs happen when you step into what you do not yet understand. The only way to grow is to lean into uncertainty, to embrace the discomfort, to trust that you will figure it out along the way. Most people never reach their full potential because they let fear control their decisions. They choose safety over growth. They choose comfort over challenge. They choose the known over the unknown. They stay in jobs they hate because they are afraid of starting over. They stay in relationships that do not fulfill them because they are afraid of being alone. They hold back their ideas because they are afraid of what people will think. They live small because they are afraid to take up space, afraid to step into their power, afraid to go after what they really want. But fear is a liar. It makes you believe that playing it safe will protect you, when in reality, playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do. Growth requires risk. Success requires stepping into discomfort. Confidence is built by doing the things that scare you, by proving to yourself that you are capable, by pushing past the limits your mind has placed on you. The only way to overcome fear is to move through it. The only way to silence doubt is to take action. Fear does not go away by thinking about it. It does not disappear by wishing it away. Fear only weakens when you take control, when you move despite it, when you take action, even when every part of you wants to hesitate. Fear wants you to hesitate because hesitation kills dreams. The longer you wait, the stronger fear becomes. The more you overthink, the more fear takes hold. Fear loves delay. It wants you to analyze every possibility, to look for every excuse, to talk yourself out of taking the leap. But the key to overcoming fear is to act before it has time to grow. The second you feel fear creeping in, move. The moment doubt enters your mind, take action. Do not wait until you feel ready. Do not wait until fear is gone. Move first, and fear will follow. Every successful person you admire has felt fear. Every person who has achieved something great has had moments of doubt, moments of hesitation, moments where they questioned if they were capable. The difference is they did not let fear stop them. They understood that fear is just a feeling, not a fact. They knew that action was the only way to take control. They moved before they felt ready, and that is what made them successful. Fear tricks you into believing that failure is the worst thing that can happen. It convinces you that making a mistake is the end of the world. But failure is not final. It is feedback. It is information. It is an opportunity to adjust, to improve, to grow. The only real failure is refusing to try. The only real failure is letting fear win. The only real failure is standing still while life passes you by. Fear creates stories in your mind. It tells you that you are not enough. It tells you that you will never make it. It tells you that you should just give up. But those are just stories, and you have the power to rewrite them. You have the power to decide what you believe. You have the power to challenge those thoughts, to replace them with truth, to remind yourself of your strength, your capability, your resilience. The most powerful way to weaken fear is to prove it wrong. Every time you take action, every time you push past hesitation, every time you refuse to let fear dictate your choices, you take back control. You show fear that it does not own you. You show yourself that you are stronger than your doubts, that you are bigger than your limitations, that you are more powerful than you ever imagined. Fear will always be there when you are stepping into something new, something bigger, something greater than what you have done before. But that is not a reason to stop. It is a sign that you are growing. If you are never afraid, it means you are not pushing yourself. If you are never uncomfortable, it means you are not stepping outside your limits. Growth and fear go hand in hand. The only way to reach your full potential is to move through the fear, to push past the doubt, to take action, even when everything inside you is telling you to hold back. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when fear completely disappears. There will never be a point where you feel 100% ready. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear stop them. They understand that action is the only thing that makes fear weaker. They know that confidence is built through movement, that growth happens outside of comfort, that success comes from stepping into the unknown. The only way to take back control from fear is to act. The only way to build confidence is to do the thing you are afraid of. The only way to grow is to move forward, even when fear is trying to hold you back. Every time you take action in the presence of fear, you take away its power. Every time you push through, you become stronger. Fear only wins if you stand still. The moment you move, fear starts to lose.